ho. How me takapi. Na pechi uzapelo. Akantu. Namako ambetu le one wazio blocking telo. Takashala wakantanka. Namako ambetu le eni wazio blocking telo. Oyate wichonik telo. Oshimala ye oyate wani wachichuelo. Le unkipiki ohe washtelo. Taka taku wowaktani wanilio blocking telo. Me wakapataha oyan namajio. We chayaka echeki ontaya ho anamakopta ye. Lemi taku ye ankapiki optaya dokai wachiki intelo. Hechechaki tokata oena jiwa haunta nipikta noe. Ohe. Kate topa hyoktoano. Hiya. Oyate Tokahea Wichakie Tokahe Wichakve Nokehaya Chu Unamakopta ye Viokpeataha, Waziataha, Viohiampataha, Itokagataha, Wakatakia, Nama, Makatia, Chimaka, Ina, Ate. Oh, Pela, We explained it to you long ago, brothers and sisters. We ask you to listen. It's not too late. Today is a good day to hear the truth. Today, we tell the grandfather's word, the grandmother's word. We live here with peace, with earth. We understand we want you to understand that it's good for all of us to live here. And if we don't listen, well, that's not up to us. It's only up to the Creator who made us, who chose our path for us.
You're listening to KAOS 89.3 FM here in Olympia. This is Make No Bones About It. And we have Tiokasin Ghosthorse on the line, and here on KAOS. Hey, Tiokasin. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, I know that you're taking a little bit of a sabbatical, and we definitely, I don't know, I miss you on Thursdays. I do listen to John, but I do miss you on Thursday, there, First Voices. And so thanks for calling in this evening and sharing with us. Give you a little bit of time to introduce yourself, and I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the projects you're on, but also some of the things about, you talk about Mother Earth and how a lot of us have lost that connection, and how we need to come back into taking care of her. And so we'll be taken care of. I think if that makes sense to you. I tried to explain on the phone, like, what I'm feeling lately is that all around us, the water's sick. We live in the four directions here. We just spoke with Chief Arvo Looking Horse, and how we've come out of balance, and how the human being has been abusing Mother Earth. And I feel that she will be okay, but if we don't wake up, and I don't even want to use that term, if we don't start to come back into being a human being and taking care, we're going to be gone. And that's just my perception of it. I just feel like all these I still don't believe people don't understand what's happening in Japan to that level where it's really affecting everybody, and it's not just in one person's backyard anymore. It's in all of our backyards. And how do we take care of that? And then we get the tar sands that are happening, that they want to put that pipeline in, and that's just it's not going to create more jobs. It's just going to create more of the cancer. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and get your feedback on that.
Well, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I used to do radio there at KAOS probably about 20 years ago. I don't know, quite a while ago, and I just I'm taking a year off from radio after 21 years, I believe, and I am trying to sort what the next idea would be. And, of course, we always talk about defending Mother Earth, and I'm still getting feedback here, so I hope everything is good. Are you there? Hello? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting echoed. Oh, okay. Yeah, you did. So what I'm doing here, it's still there, but I'll keep talking. If you're getting echo, maybe your listeners are getting the echo too.
Okay.
But it's very okay. What I'll try to say is having to do with people, and I know as a programmer there all those years ago, and in programming in New York City, especially on Wall Street as a radio producer and host, is that the criticalness of presenting such thing as presenting ideas of defending Mother Earth or speaking up for Mother Earth or talking about our own stories as Native people, in this case the Lakota people, is not taken very well by the mindset that is Western, the mindset that is individualized into the selfishness that that they cannot do wrong. So any little bit that is different, and especially there at Evergreen, is that everybody is trying to be different. That they all remain the same. They're all the same now, and they talk about having a new consciousness and a new life and a new way of being. But they forget that all that has been new to us as Native people. So when you are getting people calling in on the phone line there criticizing an elder or anybody Native, they're shooting themselves in the foot. I've seen this in action. They call it pharma. I call it something that, what goes around comes around. And I think that the people have to be very careful, because this is what we're doing to Mother Earth. We're shooting ourselves in the foot because we won't listen to the intellect, the intelligence of being wise with Mother Earth. We're not listening to that as Americans, as Westerners. We're not listening to those who are supposedly connected. And I say supposedly because we can talk about other people losing their connection, but you cannot understand how others lose connection unless you have been lost yourself. And in the native way, growing up on a reservation and without electricity and without water, all those things became very precious to you. You're hauling water as a 6 to 7-year-old child, and in a buckboard sometimes. And you're hauling water in a dead winter, and people don't understand that because they're used to turning their faucets on and stuff. But this is about the strength that we as Lakota, in this case, have been to Mother Earth. It's you can stand up for Mother Earth, show her that you're on her side by not criticizing those who are truly and still doing those ceremonies that are much older than any Western or church philosophy that came over here from another shore. These are native people on their own native lands, is what I'm saying, that they know the code. They know the language of that part of Mother Earth that speaks to them in their ceremonies. Now, if you would take that to a church, a God box, democracy is one of those God boxes, anything in that mindset that needs to put other people down because they are daring to still remain and be who they are as original peoples. Because anybody else is not original. They'd like to be. But the secret is to not criticize those original peoples for being themselves, and to not criticize those original peoples for taking on the social ills and the ways of the Western way to survive within it, in order to preserve, in order to conserve, in order to make those cultural ways survive and exist and thrive. That we too have also been forced, just like we've been forced to not have a freedom of religion before 1978. So those people who reach out and start criticizing indigenous peoples anywhere, any shape or form, they have to begin to watch their dreams. They have to begin to not be so critical of the roots of this country, of this land. And I say that because those peoples are the ones standing up for Mother Earth, and as you say, not defending Mother Earth. And as you say, she is more powerful, that she doesn't need to be defended for. She needs to be supported. And so when the people who have a lost connection with the people who have no empathy for her, they can go ahead and continue the process and the system that it takes to continue to kill the part of Mother Earth that they live on. And this is why we're chasing rabbits. We're chasing the fact that we don't realize a system that has put into place the ways to choke our life support system from us. And I think it was Orwell, but I'm going to go back to Derek Jensen. I think there was something like 200,000 dams built in North America, and even if you took down 5 a day for the next 50 years, it would not be enough. So this is the water. This is where it went. We can say it's corporations, but even those who are in the chair, the quarterbacking these corporations, they can't stop it anymore. I was just a couple of weeks ago in a CEO's house here in Bedford, New York, and he was head of a corporation, and he had taken off his tie, and he was trying to figure out what to do with his life, because he had been living in this mansion for years by himself. And he's got all the material goods that he can want. And yet he is still, in that sense, criticizing Native people for being poor. So I said to this man, when I talked to him, I said, don't you think that poverty is more than just material or lack of material? And this is what the people who are disconnected don't understand. And that part is that even though they have the lawns and they have the material and they say it's energy and it's all good, well, that's overusing, that's simplifying it, where it's so complex now that we don't know what we're saying anymore because we're regurgitating our language. And this goes out to Native people too. Native people are becoming those people. We have already lost that connection. Just because you're Native does not mean that you're connected. It's a mindset. It's how you use the language, decolonizing. And you can go to any workshop, so-called spiritual workshop around the country, and you can hear their words that they're not decolonizing. They're just painting it and then meaning more glossy. They're painting it and shining it up to look like the newest spiritual package. And so when I think about those words, what if in this language we took out the words? And think about this, really. This is not a disrespect. This is more of a, what if you took those words out, sacred and holy, of your language? What would you have? Are you living a life that you don't have to use those words to describe what you're doing every day? Is it possible to understand that you are living that way anyway? Can you understand that? So that's my first thought right there.
Right, and it makes me think about a brother that we recently lost. He didn't like the word please. He said that he's a Lakota man too, and he said that I asked you nicely, why do you have to make me beg for it? Yeah, and I was like, wow, I never thought of that. It's like you're right about the language that we use, and if we were living that simple way, that we would be immersed in it every day. We wouldn't need to be saying anything really. We would be out there with the earth.
Yeah, you would be. I mean, it's not, because we're all tourists, right?
Right.
And when I think about the touristy thing, is that we have parks, we have places to walk, all those things. But why do they have to be designated? Because there are too much people? That's one. But you think about those trails and those parks. Those are not the ideas of Native people, of the original peoples here. Even, the casinos. Yes, we had gambling also, but not in the sense of accumulation and lotto. It's that now because that's how we present it to the Americans at large, because that's how they understand gambling. Now, if you go to a stick game, it's a different thing. So there's two types of intelligences that we have to. I always understood anyway. When we're talking about how one gets back into connection, it's not going up to the mountain for a week. It's not doing all. You can do that, and it's almost like, okay, I went to my spiritual retreat, and now you come down. Now you go back into the world, and now you're fighting this and that and paying taxes, and it doesn't make sense. And I think it's really, when you're in these sweat lodges back home in the 1960s, in the 1970s, in the 1980s, and the 1990s, and in the 2000s, when you've been going in the sweat lodges all your life, you heard these things that are now true. 50 years ago, 40 years ago, when you were a baby, when you were a kid, you were these elders who were born in the 1800s were talking to you about all this stuff. And they would talk so intelligently that it's surprising that this language is only able to describe it, just so much of it, that they were already in that Inipi, already talking about, and how it's going to be. Not so simply like we would want them to be. They were in conversation, and a heavy conversation, if you will, with spirit. And that's where the intelligence comes from.
Yeah. And
how you put it out there into the world in this language. It's probably difficult. So you have this understanding that you just can't apply it out of nowhere and everybody is spiritual all of a sudden because I went to one sweat lodge and sang a popular song and I put tobacco down. We can always say that's a start, but that also may be an ending. That may be disrespectful because you're not really understanding it properly, that maybe those peoples who have not had that sweat lodge there for centuries and hundreds of thousands of years and have been doing it the same way, maybe that's science. Maybe that spirituality has been working all along. And now we have new people coming in looking for a new way and a new possibility that the world is going to get better if we just keep on doing it the same way we're doing in the same thought process, the same language. And you have in 1910, the English language had come to a sputtering halt because that's when it stopped evolving. So we're speaking a machine, we're talking a technical language, a more marketable language, which has nothing to do with being connected. So you can go to any of these green parties and green shows and big pavilions, and you won't feel that there. You'll feel the talk and the necessary things to say that we're greening it now. We're going to alternative energy. We're off oil and all these things, but it's not working because this has to be a change with Mother Earth, not among people. Among people, we'll never get it because we're speaking that language that stopped evolving in 1910.
And it's hard, as for myself, English is really hard to, put down, like, because it's really the only language that for myself that I know. So like, in talking to your friend Steve Newcomb and a few others, like it's a dominating language. So that's what I mean about putting down. It's not. It has no. The evolution of bringing it alive is to me is not. It's not there yet, and I'm hoping that we can work with it, but we have to come into the heart, and that's where, for me, you speaking nothing, and the spirits know because they scan your heart. The trees, they know because they scan your heart. They know where you are at without saying a word. So like language for me, like, I already know that the tree's sacred because when I feel it, it just does something to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like two spirits without saying a word connecting.
Yeah.
And so coming back to that, like what you were saying about 50 years ago, Arvel just talked about how like it was very hard for him to believe like that that they knew that he'd be living in this time and this is what he'd be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so like we're here. And like you talked about, because I remember instructor once, about 10, 15 years ago, told me that, the whole world's going to be speaking English because of what you just said, because it's more marketable. It's the language of money. And money doesn't work. Money's not going to, like you just talked about your friend with the mansion, he's got everything he wants, but when you don't have clean water, clean air, or, none of it's going to matter. But the earth, again, she'll cleanse herself, but we will eradicate ourselves right out of existence. That's where my head's going, so, yeah, and you talked about, people, we just have to come back into a simplicity way of being without having to label anything.
Yeah, and it's true that, you have to be really careful sometimes of the language you're speaking. Are you yelling at trees? Are you yelling at birds? Are you screaming? Are you cussing? Are you cursing at things that feel what like you said, they feel your heart first, and that's true. And that's they don't have to speak, and their language is much louder than ours. So, you think about in an anthropocentric way, do you think about those trees having thoughts that, are they thinking about survival as we are as human beings? Are they stopping and protesting the human beings? Are they stopping and saying, okay, we are all going to kill ourselves now because of the human beings, what they're doing? Now, their consciousness may be much different than ours. We're the only ones living in that fearful state in this hierarchical language, because it's up and down, and as you say, it's a domination language. And we continue to speak that in a way as if we're going to be better someday. And this way has been going on for 2,000 years, as far as I know, in my studies. But here we have something that it can't even be possible. We want to give all that energy to say that there's hope and possibility. And we're not going to have the answer as humans. I really think that. I don't believe it. I think it. I don't think that we have that answer. And we don't want to face that. That tree may have the answer. The bird may have the answer. That's what the old ones did. They went out to have their hambliacha, and they asked the animals, what do you guys think? What do you feel out there? And being this human being, could you help me to see? We're not doing that. We're going to the PhDs of the world. We're going to Facebook. We're doing all the things that have nothing to do with what we're supposed to be connecting with.
Right, and the plants and the animals, and they're speaking. I know that that Arvel also just spoke about how I saw it. I read the article about the big orca jumping out of the water. They're letting us know something's going on, and that we need to, I think, just make a better decision about how we're going to be here on Mother Earth, and walk with her, not against her.
Yeah, that's true. I think we're in the Western world, is from what I know, is that we're too goal and solution oriented. Once you reach the goal and the solution, what is there? Is there more exploration? Is there more saying that there's a new energy, and you haven't done anything with that supposedly latest energy, that you just assign a different word? But it sounds like it's new, but it's really not. It's just language that we've forgotten within the diction that we're speaking, within the lexicon we're speaking of English. So it sounds new, but really it's not, because they're intended to do what they're supposed to do, is to dominate us. And so when I think about, outside my window, I see a tree every morning, and I've always, from far as I remember, first thing that we do when I was a child was to be able to drink that water. Mnicoujou Chozani, to be able to understand that's the basis of all life, to understand that, and you just, it's in your body. You do that. It's almost like nature. You get up and the first thing you do is that water, and that's what you do. Regardless of what else is going on, that's what you do. That's what we've done, And now it's a thing catching on, I would say, and that's great. Maybe in that sense, there'll be more people understanding the movements and the appreciation that we have to, not because of a need, our own needs, but we have to, in order for any consideration among all life, and to be considered with that life that Mother Earth may just spare. That we, human beings, there may be a few of us that she will spare. And I would say, from my little brain, is that those few that are spared are the ones who have understood the connection all along, and not have had to argue over God, because that's what Native people originally did not do.
Yeah.
Or ask our origin stories. Where did we come from? Because we know that already. But it's that language. Someone said to me that before you go from this world to the next, and I think it was Doug George Ganadio who said that one thing that you should learn is a prayer in your language, so that when you cross over and you're speaking your language, that those ancestors recognize you because you're speaking that language. Now, that is for all life, not just to human beings, because it's really sad that the humans only think of humans. But when you are really in the Mnicoujou Oglala, you're thinking about all life. So we get swayed because, look, we're going to go back and, we have children, we have old people, and then we just get among ourselves again. And then we're out there behaving and we're speaking, we're playing the role, but we're not living the role. And I think there's part of that, and I'm part of this. I'm not guilty of it. I'm just part of it. I'm part of the lost connection generation. So all my life, I've been trying to reconnect. And I can't not say that I'm connected. I can always say that I've been trying to reconnect by doing as much as I possibly can to look at the negative with a critical mind. Because what is positive in America has been really, really negative for Mother Earth. So we must discern how we're being given that, oh, you're a negative person. Like, no, the system is a negative entity from the language, from the system, from the people who voted in. That's the negativity for Mother Earth. That's the true measuring stick, if you will.
Yeah.
Is the system the one that is negative towards Mother Earth? It's not working. She's not working with it.
No, and
yeah.
I'm sorry. I just I remembered when you said once about how Sandy came and it came across and it did what it did, and that's the power of the earth. And now we're trying to put $19 million into stopping that from happening again. I know that New York's invested a lot of money in that, and you cannot, no matter how much money you put in, you cannot stop her. She doesn't like what's happening, and she's going to continue to take care of herself. No matter what we do in that way, we need to align ourselves with her, and become more of a caretaker, like the people that you were talking about, the first people, the original people had and still have, because there's still some that are walking that way. And I think of myself thinking about, I used to say, and I still say it occasionally, is like there's people that are plugged in differently to Mother Earth in that old way, and I'm trying to plug in that way with all the negativity you're talking about that's been happening in this for at least 500 years that we know of. It's been a direct attempt to eradicate all of that, and I'm slowly coming back into that in my 46 years here, and I'm understanding what you're talking about, the negativity that is generating, and there's more and more of it. It seems, I feel like it's I don't know the term I'm looking for, but it's at that point where it's ready to blow up.
It's so true. You feel that, but the thing is that most of people don't know what to think about that. They don't have the thinking processes in place. They feel something's wrong, which is their intuition or instinct in their heads, but they don't have the language to describe that except one that is based in fear, one that's based in the head, one that's based in and I was talking about the whole expanse of what the brain does to or tries to do to the heart. Now, the heart's not in fear; it's the head that's in fear. And people are really trying to say that we have to give power to the mind, like it's lacking something. We're always talking about lacking things, and if the mind is always the brain is always in fear and lacking, and it's always saying, "I don't know what to do. I'm looking for a solution. I don't know," and then it's in the root of who we are. It's in the body. It's in that root that's called the heart, chante. That root will say, "I know you don't know." There's a big difference between accepting somebody by saying, "I know you don't know," and then the brain is by itself saying, professing it knows, but yet it really doesn't, because it's all experimenting with everything. And so we become a very linear fashioned human without ever being, because we're programmed now. We're allowing all these things to happen because we don't know how to stop it. Where is the thinking? Where is that dynamic human being spirit that we always talk about in this language that we're speaking now? Where's that heart? Where's that listening? Where's that power? Where's all those things that we say is there? Is it really there? And have we given it voice? Are we listening for the words? Are we using the words carefully? Every word that we're saying? Or no, I don't think so. We're just falling into the stereotypical generic Indian or Native American, and we're going to bring out our hand drum and we're going to beat on that drum and feel that it's doing something. But yet our lives are not living it. I know, New York City, right? The East Coast, you see it. You try to survive. You try to think about how does one have elbow room? How do we do this? But the thing is, it's really important is not to get involved with the thinking that, we're going to have this problem solved by such and such a date by going green. And we're having emissions down a certain percentage, like it's going to save something. But yet, in the beginning, there was none. There was no emissions. We didn't need to go green. It's almost like we're talking about some fantasy. It's like, isn't Mother Earth green? When I was growing up, Mother Earth was green. And now we're talking about we have to go green. We're applying these theories to a being that's already working. It's already being able to function, to exist as she is. But it's only the human that is applying all these theories and concepts of it, because they're running out of resourcing. They know they're running out. That's why the frantic feeling that we get, that we are part of that. Yet those peoples who are more connected and living there in the land and understanding the gratefulness have the same heartbeat, the same frequency as Mother Earth. And they understand that. But it's the ones who are floating around looking for these other ideas of how to save ourselves in that salvation point mentality that we are the only ones that matter.
Yeah, it just reminds me of that one time we were talking about, and I mean no disrespect to all other ways out there that are walking on the earth, but like there was a whole egalitarian society underneath that worked and functioned well, and she hasn't been able to speak for 500 years. She's been, because all these other isms have been put on her, and then, like it's time for her to speak. And we were all a part of that at one time. That the society you talked about, I'm almost 50, a few more years, and I remember, where I grew up in Akwesasne, New York. I know that the St. Lawrence is not clean now, but there was a time that it was. And the earth, it was, pristine. I mean, it was totally taken care of. The people knew how to live with her, took care of her, and gave back, and they never took more than they need. That whole process, now we have, we talked about marketing, all these things that we need, want. We don't. We believe that we do, but we don't need them. And it's like we have to come back into, for what you're talking about, for me, how I'm processing it is that simple being, coming back into that simple way, that we have what we need, and the earth will take care of us, and she'll continue to take care of us if we are respectful. So, I mean, there's my thoughts on that. I just, and I know that she will. I know that in my heart, because that's where Uncle always talks about. He says, that longest journey from your head to your heart, when you get in your heart, I will not worry about you anymore. It's coming in there. So you're listening to KAOS 89.3 FM here in Olympia. We're talking to Tiokasin Ghosthorse. It's about 5:45, and we got about 15 more minutes. And I would love to hear what some of the projects that you're working on, Tiokasin. I know that some people in Sweden want you to come back and jam with them over there, and I know that you're working on an album, and you're just all over the map, and it's exciting. It's exciting to I know that you're working with some amazing artists, and what's on the horizon? Well,
I've been working with Heather Henson. Heather Henson is the daughter of Jim Henson. And as you know, Jim Henson was the originator or founder of the Muppets, of all things. And we are doing the backup, the score behind the puppet show, these giant puppets of the Whooping Crane. The Whooping Crane is one time in the 60s and 70s, there was only like 64 of these birds that migrated from someplace in Manitoba, Canada, down to Texas only. And so they had this single route. But the birds are the hugest, or the tallest birds in North America. They're like 5 feet tall, and their wingspan is like almost 8 feet. And so these birds they soar above, wind thermals. So they use the Missouri River and straight through the sand hills of Nebraska down to Texas. And it's because of the pioneers, those so-called pioneers and early Americans who were shooting these big birds. And at the age of 8, I remember watching 14 of them floating. I grew up along the eastern border of the Cheyenne River, at the Missouri River, when it was flooded, and watching that. These 14 birds floating in the middle of the river, and all of a sudden, from the other side of the river, it was about a mile spread, this river, and hearing the gunshots and watching the water spray, and automatically as a little kid, you're wondering what was going on here, and the birds were able to get away. But I found out later that they were whooping cranes when I could study, and it made me more angry. It really made me angry that these were being shot at by those peoples on the other side of the river. And this past summer, I did see them for the second time in my life above a teepee that I was taking down on the Cheyenne River. And right above me, there were 10 of these whooping cranes in a perfect circle, soaring right above, and they stayed above me about cloud level and stayed there for about 10 minutes, and then they moved on, and you could see them disappearing up into the bright sun, and then they went out of sight. Well, this Heather Henson has been studying and helping and bringing education about this endangered species. There are probably hundreds of them now. So this is what we're doing. One of the projects that I'm doing is to bring in awareness that way. It's all native themed, music behind. It's won lots of awards and things. So that's one thing I'm doing. I am working on a CD, but that's going to be going for any proceeds and funds will go directly to the children and on the reservation. And I'm going to be finishing up a book by this time next year. Those are the three things I have. But I'm basically staring at clouds nowadays because of the and thinking and putting it down on words and trying to stay away from social media as much as possible, and going to the mountains. We'll be going to the mountains and doing a lot, I guess. I never get bored. Let's just put it that way. I don't understand the word. I really don't. It's not like that I have to be busy to avoid being bored. It's what's inside of one that can sit with those seed thoughts that I always talk about. And before I go, I just wanted to read something that I've written, and you may have heard it, but is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate your willingness to share.
All right. It just something that came out in a book not too long ago, and by Mary Jo Moore, who is of Cherokee and Dutch and Irish descent, and she put out a book, and I'm looking for it, but I don't have it here. So this is part of what I wrote, and I know time is running out here, so I'm just going to read it. It says, something different has happened here on Turtle Island, and only some have noticed it. Others have ran away with it to a point of no return because they've individualized it, and others have intellectualized it with the same paradigmatic thinking being forced upon us for the last 41.6667 decades, in other words, 500 years. We seem to blind ourselves with the, quote, new awareness, unquote, and fait accompli, without including the necessity of knowing who we are and getting lost in the idea of becoming something, that we do nothing. So my thoughts are this, that in order for Mother Earth to continue to live, men have to give up their male ego and admit that the religions, the politics, the patriarchy in general is at fault. We must turn our machismos into the fodder that it is and let the seeds grow in the manner that the Creator intended. We must relearn how to be men in a non-patronizing manner, in a non-matronizing manner, so there remains a balance. A place where nobody will ever hide their hearts. In this illusion, there is nothing to compare it to. There's a world, in the world where there flies no flags of any ocracies or isms. And I think we are here to provide a generativity of trust as caregivers, not caretakers. And for all this new awareness, there lacks the tolerance and how profoundly diverse native cultures are from the dominant cultures surrounding us. These distinctions create very different attitudes toward Mother Earth. And these differences make it more crucial in accepting the perspective of how to survive the ecocide system created by the dominant culture. And the dominant culture that has forgotten its intimacy with Mother Earth for a long, long time. The longer the time, the harder it is to remember. So it is with their war against Mother Earth and its stepped-up intensity and depleted sense of integrity with her, with its own origins or denial of it. So this is really about differences and not comparisons. And that's what I wanted to read.
Thank you for that. It's beautiful, and I'm still processing it. It's like always, you always leave with us to really think about what we're doing and move forward in a good way. I know that that's a phrase that's probably overused too, but it's something that I think that all of us have to understand, that the original people, the first people, native people, the ones that still in the tradition, they have a voice, and it's very important for us to listen with our hearts, because I think in that voice we'll find that way that you're talking about. You know, we can the war. We can stop that war that's happening. I that's what my heart feels, Tiokasin. And I just really appreciate you always your willingness to come on the air and share with us and how things are, and I really appreciate it. I always look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that too. And we have to always look at our we. We may be talking a good talk here and feeling sometimes warm and fuzzy and really liking it, but we have to understand that we also may be a soldier in that war, that we are also, part of trying to destroy Mother Earth. We are committing the act of war. And that we have to understand how to ask for, and I don't like this word, forgiveness, but there's no other word in English. If we are able to appreciate just about everything that we possibly can, that you grow up in a world where you don't even have to say thank you in this beggar's language. You grow up in a world that you wake up appreciated because there's air for us and there's clean water. And those two elements, those two spirit beings are there asking us to drink, asking us to breathe, because they appreciate us. No matter what we do, we are always being appreciated by them. So we have to be caregivers, because we've been far too long caretakers. And it's been a one-way street from that time. So with that, I want to say thanks for doing, make no bones about it. So here we go.
Bring your own bag. We use that term here now.
Yeah.
Bring your own bag of bones. I think G-Dub likes it a lot.
Yeah, bring your own bag.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks for giving us a call this evening, and take care, and please keep in touch.
Oh, yeah, and please pay attention to that World Peace and Prayer Day. I think Orville is going to be out here in a couple of months at the UN, and also here in upstate New York. And we need that. We need that support. And so watch for it in your social media, anything that you can do to support and help bring all the peoples here. Because, it's going to take that understanding to talk to Fukushima. Nothing else is going to be able to take care of that, but it's going to take the understanding that's created by how we get together here in the World Peace and Prayer Day. It's going to take that type of understanding in order to talk to Fukushima. So, all right, man, thanks.
Thanks a bunch. Appreciate it, and you have a good evening.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. And we were just speaking with Tiokasin Ghosthorse. This is KAOS 89.3 FM here in Olympia. Let's make no bones about it. Bring your own bag, as Tiokasin says. And but I just want to talk. I got a couple more minutes about some of the things that have been bothering me. One of them is the Buffalo Nation and how the continuous genocide that's happening with the buffalo or the bison, Tatanka, and how my heart is just really saddened by the continuing slaughter. I'll use the word slaughter of our relatives. So I'm just telling you if you have a moment, not telling you, I'm just sharing with you, if you had a chance and a moment to go to Yellowstone. I have to pull it up. I should have had it in front of me, but Yellowstone National Park, you can call down there and tell them that you would like to have them stop the slaughter of the buffalo. And and I'm sorry, folks, my heart is just really sad with what I've been seeing in the images. So we have to work together to fight that negativity that's happening that we've been talking about. And my understanding of things, it will take all of us to heal. So in that, I'm going to play this last song. G-Dub is in the house. This one is after my ID here. We'll play this song by Buffy St. Marie.
Remember the times that you have held your head high.